Lucky Bucks. We are live coming to you on Facebook, on Twitch, on Periscope, as well as on YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in to the show. I'm with the mask right now because there's 5,000 people over there. I probably could take it off. I had it off for the game, so I'll take it off for a second. You'll hear me better, I guess. What a wild night. It's broadcast from the studio tonight, but the Jazz beat the Bucks. That's all you guys really care about. They set a franchise record for threes, a bunch of really good coaching moves and great intensity, and they changed the tone of the road trip. We'll talk about it with your comments and your questions coming up on tonight's edition of POSTCAST. Jazz 131, Bucks 118 as the Jazz win it over the Bucks. The Bucks go to 5-4, and I think are an interesting team to talk about. The Jazz go to 5-4, and now with a chance to go get 3 games on the road trip. The fatigue does not get them. Detroit, Cleveland, and Washington will be the next 3. But the story of this trip is taking advantage of what the Bucks do. Last year, the Bucks allowed 29% of the shots at the rim, which is historically low. The next closest in the league was 31. The league average is 36%. So they're going to shut off the rim, and they are going to give you an opportunity to swing the basketball and make shots. And that's what the Jazz did. Teams have gotten into the Jazz, haven't allowed them to run their routes and move the ball. Those teams have caused the Jazz a bunch of problems. That's not how the Bucks play. And so the Jazz came out aggressively. They hit 9 threes in the first quarter of this ball game. They hit 15 in the first half as a franchise record, and they capped it off by setting a franchise record tonight for threes in a ball game as the Jazz wrapped it up with the final score again, 131-118, and 25 threes in 53 attempts. Royce O'Neal was probably the key to it. They put Giannis on Royce to start, and they weren't guarding him, and they were allowing Giannis to play free safety, and Royce came out and just busted threes. He hit 6 of 8 threes and was the key to this whole thing. He also had 8 rebounds and 6 assists and 3 steals and guarded Giannis for most of the night. Jordan Clarkson went nuts in the first half. He had 23 points in the first half and kept it going. Then Donovan took over in the third quarter. Mike Conley added 17 points and 10 assists. Jazz scored 131. There's a lot of points to be had. And maybe the most interesting coaching move of the night was the Jazz went to the Wasatch Front for the first time all year and did it when Giannis was on the floor predominantly so that they could go and put the favors on Giannis. And last year or 2 years ago, Giannis shot just 5 of 14 from the field when being guarded by favors because Gobert's lurking. Quinn Snyder said to us in the pregame show that what he was really wanted to have happen was not to have Gobert guard Giannis, but to have Giannis think about where Gobert is. And that was probably more important. All right, let's get some of the thoughts. That's what we do here. Alex, love the game. I need something to make me feel good today. All right, well, hopefully that'll do it because that was great. Excited to hear about the numbers with Favors and Gobert on the floor together. Probably pretty good and probably a unique situation where it works for exactly what I was talking about before, which is the fact that you have, Giannis driving at Faves with Gobert lurking, and then that forces kickouts, and basically the Jazz decided they would rather have a Brook Lopez 3 than a Giannis shot at the rim. The math is right on that. They actually used a little Bucks logic there, and that's what that decision was. Less turnovers and better defense. We may need that every night. I'm not sure totally on the better defense. By the end of the night, the defensive rating was a 113 because the Bucks' fourth quarter wasn't very good. But honestly, going into the fourth quarter, and the Jazz still led this game, as I find my notes, by the score of 104-96. The defensive rating was a 122 at that point. So a lot of the game tonight was the Jazz win it offensively. 113 is actually pretty good. Give them credit, considering the fact the Bucks came in with a 121. So I'll give the Jazz credit there for the defense. It was predominantly an offensive night, but the less turnovers was certainly vital. Just less live ball turnovers. Those are the killers that the Jazz were doing. Let's go to Matt. What was Jazz's defensive and offensive rating with the 2 big lineup? You know what? I'll have to look it up. It'll take me a little while to figure that out. I can't do it just this quickly. But it worked there for a little while, I think. Nolan, small town in Illinois. Nice to say hi. Scott Barber, great game to Royce. You bet. Paul, I was surprised, but I'm excited about the win. Why be surprised? I've gotten every game wrong all year. Like, I would have thought we would have lost to San Antonio, beat the Knicks and the Nets, and then lost to the Bucks, right? Like I've gotten every game all year long. Do you think the extra secondary rim protection of the Wasatch front is important enough to play more, especially because Mike Conley's not Ricky Rubio? That would be the thought. If they start playing him more, the feeling is they can do it because they have better shooting than they used to have. But you saw tonight, Favors ends up taking a lot of those baseline jumpers because he simply has to, because nobody's guarding him. The spacing is so bad when those two are on the floor together. So it really is a challenge. They have to be great defensively. And in this case, with Giannis driving and the way they play, that was absolutely the case. If our exterior defense, perimeter defense continues to be as bad, maybe we're going to have to do that. And in some ways, but I think that it's still a tough combination for us to play in every night. But LeBron and Anthony Davis, maybe you do it. I don't, who can Faves guard that's that kind of dynamic player? Someone who really doesn't have much of an outside game. LeBron has much more of an outside game than Giannis. Should have we done it on Julius Randle? Maybe. Might have worked out there. Are the Jazz deliberately going after offensive rebounds harder this year? Yes. There is a little bit of a metric game because Milwaukee's doing it too. A numeric game that people are beginning to think that we went too far the other way and that offensive rebounds are actually worth it more. The Jazz are certainly on that side, that the value you get with those extra possessions. And there does not seem to be a correlation between high offensive rebounding team and bad transition teams, or high offensive rebounding teams and bad defensive teams. So that doesn't seem to be the case. Ryan says we always play up to our competition. That's actually not true statistically over the last few years. I actually think we play to the matchup style of the team we play. And this was a very good matchup. Daniel Granger says, I love it when Royce shoots with confidence. He was massive tonight. That was a huge part. Do I just imagine we always play better against good teams? You know what? Last year, our record was 13-18 against above 500 teams. So what I think is true, Margaret, is you remember the really fun wins, which are against really good teams, more than you remember the win against a not very fun team. But we were 13-18 last year against above 500 teams. So we were really, over the last few years, have been unbelievably good against below 500 teams. It feels like the Jazz need Clarkson to find about 30 minutes every night. Sure. I mean, Jordan's playing really, really well. He's been crazy consistent. So I would think, he is playing about that, I think. We only played like 7 guys tonight, really. George Niang did well tonight. He made a few nice plays. Coach on Twitch, follow up. Is there any hope Favors approach average? No. Favors is not going to be a three-point shooter. Philip, do you have the stat for the last time the Jazz won without Joe? Nice way to end the show. The Aussie speaking up for his guy. Joe Ingles' streak comes to an end tonight, but the Jazz get the win in New Orleans, play with great pace tonight, and pull off in Milwaukee. We'll talk to you in Detroit. Throttle down, boys and girls. Throttle down. See ya.